Hello, Earth Angels, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. It's your host, Kristen. I realize I start this the same every single time. I don't know if that's annoying or not annoying, but whatever. If you're new here, then welcome. I am a mindset coach, a spiritual mentor. We learn all about how to be the most you, how to shine your light, how to go after what you want. Basically, all the things that are important to your soul. Alignment Academy, you know? I hope everyone had a good 4th of July, had fun, whatever you were doing. I had my friend Sam here. I'm having such a fun summer. I was making a post about this, but I think that there's 2 seasons of life. Well, for me at least, it's there's a very self-disciplined, solitude, healing season. And then there's this more fun integration, play and pleasure season. I'm definitely in more of that summer play pleasure season. And I think both seasons are so important and you have to honor both of them. They're just different, right? I love the soul season because the things that you accomplish in that season, they're going to benefit you for the rest of your life. My business and my self-worth was built in that season. And my soul is fucking tired. Those are heavier seasons. And I'm really just happy to be on earth and just living life. So I would love to know what season you're in, more of a play or more of a solitude. Whatever it is, it's perfect. And you have to just honor it because all seasons, just like Earth seasons, they come to an end and they're just here to be honored. Today, I thought I would talk about a topic that I really haven't talked about in a really long time. And I love this topic because it's just so relevant, I think, to the healing journey. Also, to the entrepreneurial journey, whatever you are, I think that it's going to be relevant to you. And it's really on the topic of authenticity. I think finding your authentic self is, it's a journey, right? Similar to healing, it's never really done. But I think that there are levels to it where you do a good bit of work and you do feel like you know your authentic self. And I'm just going to kind of start off with covering the authentic self. Who is your authentic self? The way I really like to describe it is it's who you were before the world told you to be. So you guys know I love inner child work. Well, we do get a lot of our conditioning in childhood, right? And it can be be more quiet, don't talk as loud, don't do this. Maybe you got shamed for liking theater and now you like theater, but you shamed yourself, so you forgot that you like theater. There's all of these little quirks and things about us that we kind of came into this life with. And I think that that's so cool. While I have an innate interest in spirituality and healing, somebody else might have an innate interest in guitar and music and something else, right? And it's kind of cool because you can't explain it. It's definitely God-given. And I think that is so relevant to fulfillment because when you're finding your authentic self, you're also kind of committing to a journey of more fulfillment. And one thing that I always say about fulfillment is fulfillment isn't logical. It's not going to make sense. And I think that's the same with your authentic self. It's not logical. It's not going to make sense. You could, for me, both of my parents, they were doctors, and the logical thing would be for me to be a doctor, or, my dad always used to say, be a doctor, a lawyer, this, that. And it wasn't really logical for me to be no, I want to be a spiritual mentor. I don't know, right? I want to be a content creator. I want to be a podcaster. That's not the logical thing to do, but something in my soul just told me that this was the path. And I want to kind of get into some of the things that I've done to find my authentic self. I do feel like I've been living authentically for about 5 to 6 years now, and I do help a lot of my clients find their authentic path. One of the biggest signs that you're not living your authentic path, though, is that you are unfulfilled. I was the most inauthentic when I was the most unfulfilled. I think that they're very, very correlated. And your authentic self is always going to lead you to more fulfillment because when you're doing what feels authentic, of course you're going to be more fulfilled. I feel like it makes sense, but sometimes these things aren't very logical. You have to kind of unpack it within yourself. So I think that the biggest thing that helped me find my authentic self was truly healing a lot of trauma because, one of the biggest things that is relevant, I feel like these days, is people pleasing. People pleasers, guys, you cannot be authentic and be a people pleaser because think about it. In order to be authentic, you have to be willing to maybe make people uncomfortable, to let people down, to do what's best for you. And those things can't really coexist. And so I realized that even the path that I took, I went to school for supply chain and finance, like that was a path to make my parents happy. I remember too, like when I was going into college and we were like the orientation thing, I don't even know what it's called, the orientation. You like pick your major, right? And I remember telling my mom I wanted to go into nutrition and like wellness. And if you think about it, that would have kind of been one of the logical paths, like what I was going to do now. Like I was really into fitness. I was really into wellness. And like, I could have seen myself maybe going down that path and becoming like a health coach or something. And then kind of having this path maybe just evolve a tad easier than it did. But instead, because my parents were like, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer, like you need to make a lot of money, I was like, well, I'm not going to do either of those things, but I will go into business. And that was something that like was pleasing to them. And so from the get-go, I lost my authenticity trying to please others. And so when I healed a lot of my people pleasing, I was like, wow, I'm going to have to quit my corporate job. That's going to upset a lot of people. That's going to not look good to the outside world. I was able to go on my authentic path more. And so one of my questions for you, if you're realizing that you aren't living an authentic life or you don't know your authentic self, is like, do you struggle with people pleasing? Because that would be kind of like the first step for you to really become more authentic. And think about when you heal your trauma, you're undoing so much of your programming. Like you're really starting to question your programming. Well, like, why do I believe this about myself? And where did I learn that I have to be perfect to be liked? And where did I learn that you have to have a real job to make a lot of money? And in that unlearning about all these things and like getting curious, you're also like, okay, well, what's true for me? What do I know about myself? Like, what do I enjoy? And it's kind of hard at first if you've been taught to always put things through the filter of what will other people like? What will other people approve of? And yeah, like it makes sense to me why so many people are unfulfilled and not living an authentic life, because if you don't ever question it and you don't heal your trauma, like how would you, like how would you, unless you just have a really, I guess, like strong soul and had a will to follow your own path early on, or you had parents that really did encourage you to follow what you're interested in. It's really easy to get caught up in what your parents wanted, what your family and friends wanted, what your culture wanted, right? Like if you had a lot of people around your town or people who only would approve of you if you did something this way, like it would be really easy to kind of lose yourself in that. So the first thing was just healing a lot of trauma. And I know it always comes back to this, guys. You guys are so sick of me talking about inner child work, but hey, guys, it works. And it's the thing that's going to help you find yourself. So I'm not going to shut up about it. I'm sorry. The second thing that really kind of helped me find my authentic self was this idea of like curiosity and exploration. When you undo all this programming, there is this weird in between. And the in between is like, well, you know that you're not that person maybe, but who are you? And the only way to find out is by exploration and just like trial and error. And I think that this is very not intuitive to adults, but it's actually very natural to children. Like think about how many sports you probably tried. You probably try soccer, and then you try volleyball, and then you try baseball or whatever you tried, right? And then you just pick the one that you like. But the only way you find the one that you like is by trying them all. But as adults, it's like we have this weird resistance to trying new things because we don't like being bad at things. We don't like failing. We don't like being in this like curious nature. It's just not as natural to adults. And so I think that if you're trying to find your authentic self, you have to be in this period of being okay failing and being okay being a beginner, being okay looking dumb, being okay looking like a loser. Like all those things are required to find your authentic self. And so if you're like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I like when was the last time you tried something new? Even me, I'm in this very uncomfortable period because like I moved to this newer part of town in San Diego, and I'm like needing to make community and more friends. And I'm like, okay, should I like join a surf club? Like, should I join a pickleball league? And I'm like really uncomfortable. Like I don't really want to do these things alone. I really don't. But I know that I have to put myself in these areas of discomfort in order to not only like find what I like in this season, but make new friends and just like build a life here. I think that there's so much to be said of just like learning how to sit with discomfort as an adult. I know that's weird, but it's like, it's just uncomfortable doing these new things, but you have to learn how to do it. So really trying new things, being in a curious nature, and being okay failing. Like I have to be okay to like go try a surf camp and be like, oh, that wasn't for me. Go try a pickleball league and be like, oh, okay, like that wasn't for me. And it's interesting. There's even things that I've like tried over and over and over again that I'm like, I really want to like this thing and I should like this thing logically, like even some spiritual things. I'm like, I should like this, but I just don't. And I just need to honor that I don't like it. You know what I mean? So I think that there has to be a level of curiosity and discernment within self to find your authentic self. One of the tips that I give all of my clients, and this is something that I used to learn like in yoga, was, I used to ask this teacher, like, how do I make my classes feel like me? Like, how do I be more authentic in my classes? And this one teacher told me, just be 10% more yourself every time. And it was the best advice I've ever gotten. I don't even remember what teacher it was, but I always give this to my clients. They're like, how do I be more authentic on my social media? How do I be more authentic in my relationships? And I'm like, well, I don't really think it's a switch like that. But my question for you is, how can you be 10% more authentic you every time you go on social media, every time you make a story? And even me, like this morning I was making a story and my hair was a mess. I had no makeup on and I was like, should I go put makeup on? I was like, no, this is my authentic self. Like if you know me in real life, like I'm not always super put together. Sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not. I'm actually getting better at it, like where it is feeling better to be more of like an adult and a woman. But like sometimes I'm just kind of a mess. And so I like being my authentic self, just doing it, just showing up as me, just showing up, not trying to make a performance. And perfectionism is very tied to authenticity as well, which was honestly the spark of this whole episode, because I was doing a presentation for Inner Work Alchemy on like perfectionism and procrastination. And one of the slides was talking about like being your authentic self. Like authenticity and perfectionism can't coexist, because if you're trying to be perfect, you're a robot. And when you're a robot, you're not your authentic self. And if you're your authentic self, you're not perfect, right? And so I think it's like this journey to not having to put on a show, not having to perform, and being okay, being imperfect, which comes back to healing your trauma, honestly. I've really been also loving finding my authentic self like through style. And I think that sometimes you have to get it wrong to get it right as well. Like how I dress and the clothes that I wear, it's like a part of what makes you you. It's interesting because I think that in the past, I can see even how my style was molded to like who I was dating, or even the friends I was around, or the culture I was around. Like I do feel like I dress differently in LA than I do in San Diego. And not that that's a bad thing. Like maybe that was authentic for me at the time, but it's interesting because I think that if you are feeling inauthentic, you can also look at like very 3D material things and say like, is that me? Is that how I dress? And I think this is a reason too why people in corporate sometimes don't feel like themselves, because they can't really express themselves through fashion, through style. And I think that that's like a really cool way to express yourself. And so if you're trying to find your authentic self, like just take a quick check at your wardrobe. Does your wardrobe feel like you? Does it feel like you? And if it doesn't, get rid of 10 things and buy 10 new things in the next couple months. Even with this move, I got rid of so many things. It just made space in my closet for like more clothes that just feel like me, that feel so good, authentic, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited to just continue to evolve my identity and my authenticity like through my clothing, because it's just a fun thing to play with. Like what I like is not going to be what you like, and what you like is not going to be what I like, but I can take things from maybe what you like and what this person likes and what this person likes and make it my own style, make it my own thing. And that's actually how I also tell people how to like find their voice. I'm like, hey, you might like these 4 creators. Take a little bit of something from each of them and then make it your own, and you're going to be your own blend of it. Like so much of life is just trial and error, guys. I can't really stress that enough. It's like just sometimes you got to figure it out and get it wrong to get it right. I am quickly interrupting this episode to remind you guys that if you're a listener, which clearly you are, I have created a free meditation for all of you. This meditation was built out of my rock bottom when I needed to trust the universe and release a lot of anxiety I was feeling, and I didn't know how. So I learned how to trust the universe, and I'm going to teach you how in this meditation. It's really practicing this feeling of being held and supported grounded and remembering that you actually are held and supported by the universe in every single moment. All you have to do to get this meditation is to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on, and then go ahead and head over to my podcast Instagram at Alignment Academy Podcast, give it a follow, and then message me on there with a screenshot of your rating or review, whatever platform you're listening on, and I will send you the meditation. Okay, now back to the episode. Another kind of like tip for finding your authentic self, if you feel like you don't know yourself, have more freaking opinions. Have more opinions. Think about it. When you're a people pleaser and you don't have opinions, who are you? You are who you are because of your opinion about things. You might be listening to this podcast because you like my opinion on things. You enjoy my take, my personality. And so when we're people pleasing, we don't have opinions because we're just saying, yeah, it's fine. I'll do whatever you want to do. I'll eat wherever you want to eat. That's cool. That's cool. And it's like, who are you? Who are your opinions? And so if you're realizing like, wow, I really don't know my authentic self. I really don't feel like I'm in touch with me. I want you to have more opinions. I want you to really ask yourself, like, how do I feel about things? Where do I like to eat? What is my favorite food? And an exercise I give some of my clients is like just to have opinion about everything when you're walking down the street. Oh, I like that flower. Oh, I don't like that flower. Oh, I like that person's hat. Oh, I don't like that person's hat. I want to eat here. I don't like tacos. I like Italian food. I don't like wine. I like this. Just start having opinions. And so much of this can also be like a skill. Like if you were never taught to have opinions, or if you've suppressed a lot of your opinions for so long, you can be out of touch with your opinions. And a lot of my one-on-one clients, we work on this. They're like, Kristen, I don't even know what I like. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just start small, right? You've made decisions before. So what do you know? Okay, what things are you maybe not sure about? Can we form an opinion on those in the next couple of weeks? Can you think about them? And as time goes on, you'll have more of an opinion about it. But if you've just been for so long taught to not have an opinion, you're so out of touch with your opinion, it's hard to know what you like. So give yourself grace through that process. Do inner child work with someone if it helps, and try to just be more opinionated. I know it sounds weird, but it really, really does work. The last thing that I really want to talk about when it comes to finding your authentic self is going to be kind of like a mind fuck, because it's going to negate basically everything that I said. But what I've realized with finding my authentic self is that the more you get to know yourself, the more that you realize you don't know yourself, because you're always changing. And so what my authentic self was maybe 2 years ago actually might have been super authentic for that period of my life. However, I've changed, I've evolved, I've grown, and now that is inauthentic, and this might be more authentic. And what's authentic right now might not be authentic in 1 or 2 years. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting because this journey of finding your authentic self, it's an ever evolving journey of continuing to get to know yourself, continuing to question and unpack and let yourself change and evolve. And evolving and changing is not a bad thing. Like, your authenticity is going to change with you. And I think that that's the beautiful and hard part about the journey. And even I've had to kind of be easy about it. Like, that's really what I want to say as like the final straw for this is like, be easy about this. Like, be curious, be lighthearted, be playful about it, because there can be a level of like, well, who I was then was wrong, and I don't feel that way anymore. And maybe I was wrong, but it's like, no, like I was doing the best I could with the knowledge I had at the time. And that's what felt right at the time. And maybe this is what feels right at this time. And it's okay if it's different. And so that's my closing words for you, is that if you are on this journey of finding a deeper sense of authenticity, be playful, be so playful with it. It's okay. You're going to get there, but this is a journey, and it's not like a switch, and it's not a destination. You really, really just got to explore with yourself. And, at the end of the day, we're not really here for any other reason but to get to know ourselves and to get to know God through ourselves, and just do the best we can. So if you're doing the best you can, you're doing good. If you're listening to this podcast, you're clearly interested in growing. So be proud of yourself for that. Your soul's going to lead you to the right people and the right places and the right programs and the right things to help you evolve, and just continue to follow your heart. I want to really end with following your heart, because as you guys know, I have just such a big connection to the heart right now. And even this week, I made some decisions to reach out to some people that are from my past. And it was such an illogical decision. Like everything in my logical mind was telling me, don't reach out to these people. Don't. They've done you wrong. It doesn't make sense. They don't deserve it. And my heart was screaming. It was like, reach out, reach out. And, I really came back to this podcast. You guys are so important to me. And I was like, if I'm going to tell people to follow their heart and then I'm going to sit here and out logic my heart, who the fuck am I? And so I said, let me just be in an experiment with life. Let me just use this as an experiment. What's going to happen if I follow my heart? And I was also not attached to the results being right then, right? Because like I could have reached out and like I could have not had the benefit of that for months, right? But I was like, let me just follow my heart and see what happens. And the conversation that I ended up having, it was for me. It wasn't for them. And it was what I needed. And it just really freaking helped me. Like it's going to make me an emotional kind of, because I'm like, I'm just so grateful. I followed my heart because there was so much energy that I had to express and I let myself express it. And I think that when it comes to love and it comes to being the embodiment of love, there's going to be so many times where you are challenged to greater levels of love. My ego didn't want me to reach out. My ego was like, they don't deserve it, this, that. It's not the right thing to do. The right thing is for them to reach out to you. If you are going to be the embodiment of love, you have to put all of that aside. I don't even know how we got on this topic, guys. But for some reason, I know someone needs to hear it, and I hope it's you. Follow your fucking heart. It's never going to make sense. It's going to be so scary. And even after I sent the text, I was like, oh my God, should I have not sent that text? Was that the wrong thing? Should I have not sent that text? God, why did I do it? And I remembered, like, this is the process of following your heart. You're going to second guess yourself, but it's still going to end up okay. And I remembered that when I quit my corporate job, I was having those same second guessing feelings. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, should I have quit that job? Should I just have stayed? And guess what? It ended better than expected. And I had to just sit in the discomfort of not knowing how it was going to end. And it did end up, I just had such a beautiful conversation, and I don't know where it's going to lead me next, but it was for me. It was because for some reason I needed to say that from my heart. And so follow your heart, guys. It takes so much courage and so much ego shedding and so much, I wouldn't say purity, to do what your heart is telling you to do. But when you decide to follow this path of your heart, it makes everything so simple. Because what I realized after I sent that message, and I know it's such a small thing, but it was just such a big thing for me, was that I don't need to overcomplicate life. All I need to do is follow what my heart is telling me to do, and I'm always going to be led exactly where I need to go. So that's my message for today, is find your authentic self and follow your heart. In other news, my membership, Alignment Academy, the membership is launching, I believe, next week, which is so exciting. So if you're not on my email list, make sure that you join it below. Make sure that you are following me on socials. And I am so excited because in the membership, we're going to be doing live meditations. You're going to have access to a lot of my past masterclasses, all my meditations. We're going to have community calls. It's going to be a really great place to meet your new spiritual BFF or just, friends that are on the same journey as you. It's going to be very, very community focused and learning focused. It's a school. It's an academy, guys. I'm really excited for that. And there will be a founding members price. Like if you're a founding member, then you'll get a discount and you'll be grandfathered into that for life. So really, really excited for that. Stay tuned. Other than that, I'm just going to be enjoying my summer, having, my fun era, my human era, my earth era, and just learning as I go and sharing along the way. So I hope this sparked anything for you guys. As always, I love you. Let me know your biggest takeaways in my DMs, and I'll see you next week. Bye.